Now we have the regular board meeting. It's Tuesday, November 15th, 2022. It's 10 o'clock a.m. We're in the Board of Supervisors hearing room, Melody Lane, Bisbee. Any item on this agenda is open for discussion and possible action. And as always, I'd like for you to stand as we do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. The order or deletion of any item on this agenda is subject to modification at the meeting, and the board may vote to recess into executive session for the purpose of obtaining legal advice from the board's attorney on any matter listed on the agenda pursuant to ARS 38-431.03A3. We begin again with the roll call. District 1.
Crosby is here.
District 2, Supervisor English is present. District 3.
Supervisor Judd is here.
We have a complete board. Members of the public may also attend this meeting by Microsoft Teams computer or mobile app, or by phone by calling 602-609-7513 or 888-680-6714. Conference ID 637-330-904#. If you have trouble accessing this meeting remotely, call 520-432-9200 for direction. The board may permit public comment during the discussion of any item on this agenda. To speak to an agenda item or call to the public, complete and return the speaker request form to the clerk of the board prior to the start of the meeting. Note that some attachments may be updated after the agenda is published, and this means that some presentation materials displayed at the board meeting may differ slightly from the attached version. Now we have the speaker request forms for the call to the public. Okay, you have 3 minutes to speak on any issue that isn't on the Board of Supervisors agenda, but there will be no comments from the board. The first is Jeff Sturgis. Give your name and address for the record.
Okay. My name is Jeff Sturgis. I'm from Sierra Vista. The rule of law is the most critical factor for maintaining representational democracy, rooted in equal rights and accountability. By maintaining the rule of law, we protect the rights of all people and limit the arbitrary exercise of power. The rule of law necessarily applies to the members of the Board of Supervisors, who must remain competent, ethical, and independent representatives of the community they serve. It also means that actions of the Board of Supervisors must result from predetermined, open, and transparent processes, not by the whims of a couple of board members. It must be obvious to all who observed the embarrassing hand count fiasco over the last several weeks that the actions of Supervisors Crosby and Judd is nothing of the sort. This scheme, facilitated by Recorder Stevens and hatched with the help of Cochise County Republican Chairman Robert Montgomery, the fake elector who attempted to render the votes of over 10,000 Arizonas meaningless, is nothing but a perverted deviance from the rule of law. It is a blatant attempt to disrupt a free and fair election for the purpose of injecting chaos into our democratic process, a process that needs to be guided by the rule of law. Our county attorney, Brian McIntyre, has revealed his faithfulness to the rule of law by refusing to represent the Board of Supervisors if they persisted in their illegal actions. He has also warned them and the county recorder of the laws they will potentially violate, many of them serious felonies. And yet Supervisors Judd and Crosby, along with the recorder Stevens, have persisted, bringing national derisive attention to our county. Their actions are a complete embarrassment to our county and system of government. The rule of law means that everyone must obey the law and be held accountable if they violate it. That is why I respectfully ask Supervisors Peggy Judd and Tom Crosby and Recorder David Stevens to resign from their positions. And that is why I want to recommend Supervisors Ann English, Election Director Lisa Mara, and County Attorney Brian McIntyre and his deputies for their competent and ethical performance of their duties and their faithfulness to the rule of law. Thank you.
Next is Alexis Clare. Well, you have on here, it was given to me as a call to the public because you've listed 8, 10, 13, 15, 16, 17, 18, and 21.
I know that's a lot, but they're all the same. So I can stand up there?
3 minutes.
Okay.
First, give us your name and address.
Okay, my name's Alexis Clare. I live in Bisbee. Microphone?
If you could, yes, pull it down.
They
So
don't
you
work very well.
just pull it down.
Like that, is that better?
Yeah.
Okay. Alexis Clare, Bisbee, Arizona. I'm speaking to numerous of these numbers on the agenda, but they're all similar and in the same bag. They're all regarding the militarization and buildup in Cochise County, especially by the sheriffs, then Homeland Scrutiny, then you have Border Patrol, now you have military involved, and there is so much money being allocated for this military buildup here. Already the Sheriff's Department this year got over $12 million. On here right now, they are getting more than $87,000 more dollars for salaries and fringe benefits. $5 million is going to the county sheriff's office for who knows what. And then there's another $15,000 going to SWAT. These are not all the monies, but there is a real horrible, unpeaceful military buildup from all the organizations in our county who have way too many guns, too much money. And they're really affecting our way of life. Our Bisbee Police Department has disappeared, and now the Sheriff's Patrol up and down the side streets, the highways, everywhere in Bisbee. I find it all rather disgusting.
Again, the next person I have here is Sandra Clark, but it doesn't seem to be a call to the public. It seems that you're wanting to address item 11 and 13. Do you wish to address it now or later? Okay, you have 3 minutes. Your name and address first.
Thank you. My name is Sandra Clark. I live in Green Valley, Arizona, and I appreciate the opportunity to address all of you, especially the Board of Supervisors, who has got such critical influence on all of our lives. And I'm especially grateful for the opportunity to allow Mr. Crosby, who always smirks around, the joy of my passion yet to witness again. Thank you for your email, Mr. Crosby. I witnessed some of the previous meetings in which Peggy Judd said she doesn't need any money from anyone. She's got her own private funding. When did this change, Ms. Judd? What happened to your private funding? I don't think that this jurisdiction should be responsible for creating havoc in our lives and entitle you to pay attorney's fees from our money that should go to public education, to securing water rights, and all kinds of other better uses for that. As far as I'm concerned, you don't deserve to be a public servant because, and be paid for money from our taxpayers' money, because you are criminals. You are, both you and Mr. Crosby, you know what the definition of criminal is? When you break the law, you are a criminal. Criminals should not be in government, should not use taxpayers' money. You should be fired. You should use Trump's name. You are fired by the people of Cochise County and LD 19. Shame on you, traitors. You know what the New York Post said? Deniers denied. And you should be denied the right to serve. You have not earned it. Thank you.
Next we have, I have no more call to the public in the regular board meeting. We have the consent agenda items number 1 through 7. Do I have a motion?
Madam Chair, I move we approve consent agenda items 1 through 7.
I'll second that.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. There's no discussion. All of those in favor say aye.
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 Chair votes aye, and it's unanimous and so ordered. We now move to item number 8, which is on the Board of Supervisors. It, excuse me, is a public hearing. And I would like to have a motion on the floor before I open the public hearing.
Madam Chair, I move that we adopt Resolution 22-29, ordering the formation of the Cochise County Jail District contingent upon voter approval of an excise tax, and directing that the approval of the excise tax be placed on the ballot for the election to be held on May 16th, 2021.
2023.
On May 16th, 2023.
Thank you.
I have a counter motion, which is to table this for discussion of an incremental approach for study prior to a 25-year commitment.
I do not hear a second to that motion.
I didn't either.
So we will move on. Are you going to second this motion?
Sure, I'll second the motion.
Okay. So it is a public hearing, and that means that I need to open the public hearing. Mr. Karwachka, are you going to present this?
I am. I'm going to start as the presenter, and there will be 2 additional presenters, retired Judge James Conlog and also Sheriff Daniels. So if I may, Madam Chair, Supervisor Judd, Supervisor Crosby, the board requested that county staff and the Cochise County Sheriff's Office work together and to understand this issue and to move forward and be more transparent in our discussions. In order to do that, we created the Public Advisory Committee. And that committee was comprised of the chair, who you'll hear from a little bit later, retired Judge James Conlog, Frank Antonori, David DePeso, Kay Gojkovic, Tony Isom, Deputy Chief John Kosmiter, Jennifer Lackasil, Katie Miller, Eric Peterman, retired Sheriff John Pintek, Council Member from Douglas, Danya Acosta, Council Member from Wilcox, Paul Sheets, and they met 7 different times. They also toured the jail. Each meeting was a couple hours long, and all the attachments in each of the meetings were attached to this agenda item. All the meetings were recorded, so anyone can review them at any point in time. And this committee, that I thank them over and over again, their involvement and the questions that they've asked created a better process, created more information that, as you can see, all the presenters culminated to give an extreme detailed analysis of what is going on at the jail. And during these sessions, there was, at the end, the committee was tasked to give a recommendation to the board. And at this point in time, I would ask retired Judge James Conlog to come and give his presentation about their recommendation and his statement.
Thank you. It's good to see you, Judge Conlog.
Good morning. And thank you for this opportunity. And I'll begin by thanking you for including members of the public in the process of deciding whether to establish a jail district. It was my honor to be both a member and a chairman of the Jail District Public Outreach Committee, which included 12 diverse citizens from throughout the county. Mr. Karwachka did name those persons, and I want to thank each of them individually. We have 2 members present, Tony Isom and Katie Miller is present also here. today. And as Mr. Karvatska indicated, our work, including agendas, reports, minutes, and videos, are available on the Cochise County website. If you go to the website, look for agendas and minutes tab, and you can find all of that information. Prior to the formation of the committee, this board began a transparent public process to explore the county jail needs, potential improvements, and costs to taxpayers. Under the board's direction, the Cochise County Sheriff's Office and county administration gathered information from the community, public health and public safety professionals, public safety professionals, court professionals, correctional experts, and finance experts. That information was then presented to the committee over a course of public meetings between August and October of this year. The committee was provided detailed information regarding the Cochise County criminal justice and jail systems. We were briefed on the changing trends in crime in our community and the impact of immigration on our jail system. We learned about the technological challenges that our jail system faces internally with cameras, equipment, and communications, as well as externally with issues like video court and attorney consultations. The sheriff, a jail commander, and detention staff were also very helpful in assisting the committee in better understanding the staffing challenges they face. We also learned in general terms about those incarcerated in the jail. Medical staff briefed us on the rising mental health challenges in our jail, with nearly 2/3 of the current jail population being diagnosed with some degree of mental illness requiring medication and treatment. Beyond mental health issues, we discovered that the medical staff faces significant medical challenges on a daily basis with surprisingly minimal space and resources. Committee members, as Mr. Karvatska indicated, also toured the jail facility. We saw firsthand both the state of the facility and the challenges faced by our officers and staff. We were impressed and appreciative of the incredible effort the detention and medical staff consistently exerts in addressing the changing requirements of those incarcerated while getting the job done in an aging facility. See a number of officers present, and that is a true thanks and very much appreciated. Now, with that said, it was clear to each and every committee member that the current situation in the jail is unsustainable. There are inherent inadequacies in the current facility that cannot be overcome even with the expenditure of significant sums of money. It is also physically irresponsible to pour money into a facility so near to the end of its lifespan. We have real concerns for the safety of detention officers, staff, and the prisoners housed in our jail, and the committee strongly recommends the construction of a new jail facility. The more difficult question actually was how to accomplish that. After a thorough review, our committee unanimously recommends that the Cochise County Board of Supervisors should form a jail district. We further unanimously recommend that an issue be placed on the ballot next year that asks the voters of our county to give that district the authority to implement a temporary half-cent sales tax to pay for county jail facilities, staffing, and the county jail system in general. After reviewing the financial implications and various funding sources, we found this to be the best solution to improve the safety of detention officers and staff, to provide necessary treatment of the mentally ill within the facility, to offer necessary 24-hour medical support, and to increase the staffing at the jail to a safe and adequate level. And it is our opinion that this board and the citizens of our county must face this issue head on and continue to invest in our public safety in the jail system in order to protect our quality of life. The committee believes this is the best solution to a looming problem. And that's my presentation. I'm open for any questions that any of the board members might have.
Before we start questions, I too want to say thank you not only to yourself, but to all of the board members and especially those two that are here today so that we can personally thank you for the time, energy, effort, that you put into looking at this issue. And it's been problematic for us for quite some time trying to figure out how to solve this problem. And I want to thank you for the efforts that were put into it, you and the committee. Other board members have any questions of the judge?
I have a few. Mr. Conlog, first, I was wondering, is Mr. Cosmiter still employed as a police officer, or is he actually a member of the public?
He's a deputy chief for the Sierra Vista Police Department. He continues to be employed.
Thank you. You mentioned, I believe it was a temporary half-cent sales tax. What does that mean?
It would be, if approved by the voters, it would be 1/2 cent on all items, well, any taxable items that are sold within the county. The discussion, the recommendation would be that would be for a limited period of time, and 25 years or 20 years, and that after that it no longer be assessed and collected by the county. And this would be in addition to the level of effort that currently the expenditures, the amount of money that the county is currently spending on the jail and the jail system. So that would allow for construction and then maintenance, staffing, and of the jail system. But again, it wouldn't supplant the current level of expenditure. Did that answer your question, sir?
Sure. Do you have any idea how much is half a cent sales tax at the current rate, which was $8.2 million a year over 25 years with an inflation adjustment? Do you have any idea how much that is?
No, but I bet you do.
Well, no, because I'm not a math guy, but that's okay. That's all the questions I had. I did want, does anybody else have questions for Mr. Conlon?
I haven't asked Ms. Judd yet.
Okay.
Ms. Judd,
I actually don't have a question, but I am the same way in gratitude and awe of the people who came together so often to just the general population to represent the people that matter, and that is our communities. So thank you, especially to those that came from my own communities in my district. And I'm glad that Katie Miller could be there today, and thank you very much. Just want to thank Judge Conalog. You did a great job putting that. I watched your last meeting, putting that together, and I'm very pleased with your presentation. Thank you.
don't hear any further questions, but thank you for being here.
Yes, thank you again for hearing me.
Always good. Always good to see you.
Yes, ma'am.
And Madam Chair, we also have Sheriff Daniels.
You know the routine. Name, into the record, address.
Good morning, Sheriff Mark Daniels. Madam Chair, good morning. Mr. Crosby and Ms. Judd, good morning. And to the citizens being here today, thank you for being here. I want to also start off by thanking the committee, the citizens that came together and worked with us for the last few months and to understand our jail, be educated on it, and see the complexity that we're dealing with for a facility that's very inefficient for the taxpayers in that aspect. I also want to thank our county administrator, Rich, you and your team, your staff at the county, to include Brian McIntyre and his team, keeping us getting through the meetings, talking, and just bringing it all together as one. I'd be remiss if I didn't say thanks to Commander Bradshaw and our team over at the jail. They make it look easy. They truly do. And that was some of the comments from the board members that were down there when they toured the jail. They make it look easy in a very unique time with our jail. If you go back in time, when I first started my career as a young law enforcement officer, I was booking my individuals into the old courthouse down in Bisbee, riding the elevator up with them, thinking, wow, this place has got to go. We need a new jail. Sheriff Judd, back in the mid-'80s, made that happen, along working with the current board back then. And I remember when they opened the door almost 40 years ago. Now it's time to close it. It truly is. And I echo what Judge Conlog had stated. He did a very good job of stating, so I'm not going to repeat all that. But the average lifespan of a facility, a jail, is 20 years. We've got our efficiency out of that jail. And this is the hub of the criminal justice system, a jail, whether it's the law enforcement side of it, the prosecution side, defense side, or the judicial side. It all goes back to a jail. The jail protects people. And one of the things that came out of this that I think needs to be stated today, and that is staff safety and need for more staff. That was the number one concern that brought out that we were that was shared with us. The other one was mental health and medical needs. That's the other thing that was the second priority. And last not least is having a quality jail equals quality of life for our citizens. If we don't have the facility to put people that need to be in jail, they're on the streets. And it erodes that quality of life that we need in every community. So again, whether you're a city resident, whether you're a county resident, irrelevant, the fact is the jail serves us all. It's a piece of the criminal justice system. So I encourage you all for supporting the jail district to help support the hub of public safety in Cochise County. And one last thought, I think 8 out of 15 sheriffs in the state have a jail district. And talking to my fellow colleagues, they would tell you it's one of the best things they did for their community when it comes to keeping them safe. At that point, any questions for me?
Any questions, comments?
I have comments, but I don't have any questions, Sheriff.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Judd, do you have any questions from Board Sheriff? Hearing none, then we'll move on.
Thank you.
Thank
You have
you.
comments.
Go ahead.
Okay. I have said on multiple occasions that we need a new jail. And I've been in our jail about 200 hours, more or less, since from when Deaver was in office to about 2017. I worked in California Youth Authority and San Diego County of Juvenile Corrections prior to 26 years in the Border Patrol, which also included jail check duties in several jails. So I know it is not an easy job. I know it's very challenging for corrections officers. So I did want to talk about the issue that's going to come before the voters. And all I am insisting on is that everybody tell the truth about costs and interest. If informed voters vote for it, so be it. So I have this example from about 2016 for the cost of $120 million over 20 years, and this doesn't include an inflation adjustment. So out of $120 million at 5% interest, it's $75 million in principal and $45 million in interest. And anybody who's familiar with an amortization schedule on a mortgage and so on, you know that that is going to be incredibly front loaded, like, well, you know, it's pretty common knowledge. So whoever's going to carry this loan and make the bond out of it is going to make a killing, okay? And I am not necessarily in favor of, in my opinion, throwing a ton of money down the tubes on interest. That concludes my comments. Thank you, Madam Chair.
If you win the lottery, will you give us the money so we don't have to bond?
No, I would be in favor of a pay-go system.
I do have one member of the public that's asked to speak on this agenda item, Ken Budge.
And Madam Chair, while he's approaching, I have some members of my city council and my city manager there, and he just let me know that they didn't get a form filled out. I just said I would mention that they are there in the room and do have something to say. So if that's possible, thank you.
I saw them in the room. I wondered if they were visiting or if they just wanted to come down to Bisbee for lunch.
No?
Okay.
Excuse me, Madam Chair.
Yes,
Hi. I think you need to officially open the public meeting.
I did open the public meeting
Okay, I didn't recall you doing it. That's why I mentioned it.
right after we did the, right at the beginning.
I have been corrected. Thank you.
Okay, I was thinking that I did it before we even did the motion. Okay. Well, keep me in line. That's your job.
Thank you. My name is Ken Budge. I'm mayor of the city of Bisbee. And I just wanted to come before you, Madam Chair, and supervisors. I've stayed out of this because I thought it was important that the jail committee do their work. We had a member on that from the city. I'm pleased with their outcome, and I appreciate that. And I want to be able to stand up and support this, but I am going to put a caveat, and I'm going to say right now that this jail has to be built in the county seat, in Bisbee. Or if it is not, I will not support it. I will fight against it. I'm being upfront with you right off the get-go, and I will try to bring along Douglas. I'll bring along Tombstone. I'll bring along Wilcox. And why? I'll tell you. If it's going to an alternative site that everybody's been mentioning, which is in Palominas, that's 16 and a half miles from where the jail is now out there and back. That's a 40-minute round trip drive. That's going to add 40 minutes to Bisbee, to Douglas, to Tombstone, to take anybody to the jail. And what will it save in Sierra Vista? It will save 6 minutes. That's all it's going to do for them. So that's one big reason to consider where it is in the best location. Of course, it helps us through our population count, helps us. And in the long run, eventually, I know the big plan is to move the courts out there too. So it belongs in the county seat. And I'm here to let you know that that's the only way I can support it. So what I wish you would do, and I will make this proposal to you right now, is on your resolution right here, 22-29, that on item number 7 at the very end where it says county jail system, add 6 little words, located in the Cochise County seat. The voters have a right to know where they're going to, when they vote on this, where this jail is going to show up. They can't just vote and say, well, here's the money, you put it wherever you like and whatever you think. I think the voters should know where it's going. So this is the commitment, and that's what I'm asking you to do, is make sure it stays in the county seat. We've had enough things leave our county seat from you and the county with the old high school and the other stuff that's left. I would like to see this remain in the county. Thank you.
I think Supervisor Judd has brought it to my attention that the contingent from Wilcox didn't get their paperwork filled out, but they did want to speak on item number 8. So I will use the privilege of the chair to go ahead and offer that to you as the Mayor Laws. Are you the speaker? You have 3 minutes, and to begin with, you need to give us your name and address.
My name's Mike Laws. I'm mayor of Wilcox, Arizona. Thank you for letting us be here. I didn't know we didn't have paperwork in, but that's okay. We're very busy. First of all, we've been asked to read something. I want to tell you that, start off with, I'm close with the sheriff's department. I like the sheriff's department. I like my police department. I support them. And so we get that out in the front right now. Although we're in support of the building of the new jail facility on behalf of the city of Wilcox residents and businesses, we must oppose the half-cent sales tax because of our location and our competitiveness with Safford and Graham and Greenlee County. We're so close to them. The increased sales tax would disproportionately impact our community and put local businesses at risk. Wilcox is located within a short travel distance to commercial centers in Thatcher and Safford. To remain competitive with those businesses, and products sold in northern Cochise County need to be priced and taxed to compete in those locations. With the economic base and the agricultural businesses, we must be mindful of the tax comparisons to those products sold by competing Safford and Thatcher businesses. With medium income being far below the federal poverty limit, residents and businesses owners survive by getting the best value of their dollar and understanding that they can save a 0.5% or more on fencing equipment, building materials and supplies, and short travel times provided an affordable option. The city has considered an increase in sales tax and funds, duplicated infrastructure, and improving community amenities such as our parks. However, we know that doing so, we would put economic hardship on our residents and businesses. Even with our limited tax, we have found a way to provide quality amenities and services. The city also provides their services to Cochise County residents. Wilcox provides services to Cochise County residents without the shared tax revenue. Local county residents rely on Wilcox for their fire, police, response, transit, libraries, parks, recreational, cemetery, and road services. In some of the instances, 50% or more of our services provided funding by the city are being utilized by Cochise County residents because the county is unable to provide those adequate services in these vast areas. With huge Cochise County, we hope Cochise County will consider and pursue other alternatives to paying for the jail involving cities and creating partnerships to obtain funding on behalf of the city of Wilcox. We have went and become one of the biggest advocates in the state legislature, and we know everybody up there, and we've got several $1 million worth of funds that they said we couldn't get. We got them. And we just want to say that we are in support of a jail. We need a jail. I go to the jail often, and I know I'm out of time, but I'm just saying it's something that we need, and I just want to try to find an alternative to the sales tax for us. We're not Sierra Vista, and we're not other county. Thank you for your time.
I think this has been brought up more than once, and we probably need to have at least some information from the county administrator as to the issue of looking at it from a property tax or looking at it from sales tax. So do you have some information there that we could share?
We did in our committees and in the public meetings, and those are recorded and the documents are attached. We did do the analysis of what for property tax, if we were to get the similar revenue from the half-cent sales tax, we'd have to increase the property rate by 31% to a new rate of 3.5054 to get the similar amount of revenue that we'd include in a half-cent sales tax. Also, when we did the calculations of what it would cost per resident, and this is on the high side because they're trying to find a good model, and I appreciate Dan Duchamp looking into this, but per resident per year would be $67.21, but that's just doing a simple division of what the amount of revenue per the resident, but that's not who's paying all the sales tax. It would actually be less than that. So those are rough numbers, and I think I mentioned in the committee that if I came to the board and asked to increase property tax 31%, I don't think I'd have a job by the end of that meeting. So.
Well, 31 cents on every 100. Yes.
Yeah. That would be.
I haven't been able to get a penny out of them each year, so I don't know if we get 31 cents or not. Thank you, Mayor Laws.
May I say something else?
Yes.
And I agree with you that there's 40-something million there that's just shot, y'all. I mean, we should figure out that there are state agencies that we've been to that have $5 billion with a B dollars in surplus, and we need to pursue that to help us out down here, mainly because we're on the border. And I'm not disagreeing about the location of the jail. I know that it does probably need to be here, but when you talk about 40 minutes to somebody else, it's an hour and 10 minutes for us to get here. Just saying.
Thank you. I didn't have any other additional speakers on item number 8.
Have further comment.
Okay, let's have your further comment.
Okay. Our Wilcox mayor touched on the subject of asymmetry of taxation, which I've brought up before. So this does demand some serious number crunching to figure out, okay, if you're going to say that in this case, Sierra Vista, my constituency, is going to pay more than their fair share, either if it's sales tax or it is a property tax, but the Sierra Vista police also puts more prisoners in the jail and so on. So you got to have somebody crunch those numbers to figure out, well, what's really fair here, okay? Because you can't just put it on the big city here in Cochise County, which is my constituents, without me saying something about it. But furthermore, I hate property tax. And I've said before, I like Ms. Traywick and I like Mr. Leindecker, but I hate property tax. Okay, now back to your point, Madam Chair, about whether I was going to win the lottery or not. I don't expect to win the lottery, but as I mentioned before, if the cost was, or the expected revenue projected by a sales tax was only 120 million, which is, like I said, not considering inflation, and that was the number that was tossed around in 2016. Now it's doubled that, or I'm going to say it has doubled to 240 million. So to get back to the concept of pay-go, if we simply double, and what I said about the interest being front-loaded on an amortization schedule, which almost everybody is aware of, that means if the cost was $240 million, again, without an inflation adjustment, the interest the first year would be 7.4 million, either down the tubes or to lay a foundation for what's coming up the next year, and the next year would be very close to the same, 3.6 million. Take that back. Double that. Interest, 7.4 million for $240 million over a 25-year period, and the principal of 4.4 million. So that's your typical scenario with any kind of loan you're going to take out. It's going to be front-loaded. So instead of paying 7.4 million interest the first year, or close to that the second year, you could put that into constructing the jail. That's what I mean by pay-go. Or buy a module or several modules to increase the capacity.
But we don't have the money to buy those either, so we'd have to.
So what, go into debt? This is what I'm talking about. If you're going to go into debt for 25 years for half a cent sales tax a year, and nobody has calculated how much is half a cent sales tax a year for 25 years with inflation. I'm saying without inflation, just doubling the figure that was projected in 2016, 120 million, just simply doubling that to 240 million to be collected, and so on. Anyway, I'm familiar with this from a sewer improvement project when I was on the city council. It was the same thing. They could have put 600,000, say, on a $10 million.
Well, what we're looking at here, Tom, is are you not wanting to have the excise tax pay for it? Is that the statement that you're wanting to make?
I think that what we should do is put the tax on there enough to do the study for a short period of time, figure out what are we going to do, how much is it going to cost, and so on and so forth. What this is,
that isn't this agenda though. This one is, we're ready to go, ordering the formation and putting it on the ballot.
Right. I understand what the agenda is, and we've had several speakers speak about a variety of subjects, including the ones that I'm talking about, and whether I was going to win the lottery or not. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Do you have any comments, Ms. Judd?
I don't. And I see the difficulty of adding any tax, especially in our northern communities that are far away from the city and do have a lot of competition. People from Wilcox actually go to Sierra Vista as well, would still end up contributing to the tax. I don't know personally how we could possibly divide it up or do something alternative, but I would like to hear any ideas people have in And actually the people are going to vote for this or they're not going to vote for it. And so I am a strong believer in letting individuals have the choice whether they pay an extra bit of tax or not. But I do stand with my mayor, and also Benson has a similar situation since they're not here to speak. A little bit of sales tax is really difficult on our economies. So anyway, that's all I have to say. Just that comment, no questions.
Any further
No
comments?
further comments. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, then I will close the public hearing. And we do have a motion on the floor. I will read it again. It's to approve Resolution 2229, ordering the formation of the Cochise County Jail District contingent upon voter approval of the excise tax and directing that the approval of the excise tax be placed on the ballot for the election to be held on May 16, 2023. So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, and it's unanimous and so ordered. Now, we move on to the next public hearing. I do want to say thank you for coming down and putting your comments on the record. So, the next one is a zoning ordinance. So, it's a
Madam
public
Chair.
hearing. I'd like to have a motion. Yes, Ms.
Madam
Jones.
Chair. Okay. Madam Chair, I move that we adopt zoning ordinance 22-22 and approve docket RZ 22-21 Smith Ranch to revoke a master development plan MDP-04-02 for parcels 124-01-002B and 124-01-002D and revert the zoning Z411 from PD Plan Development to RU4 Rural One Dwelling per 4 acres pursuant to a county-initiated request.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. So I will open the public hearing now on this zoning ordinance 2222. Mr. Foxworth.
Good morning. Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. As we continue to digitize our records and verify the accuracy of our zoning map, we continue to find rezonings that had conditions placed on them with reversion clauses, so that's why you're seeing this today. The subject parcels were rezoned from RU4 to planned development in concurrence with the Smith Ranch Master Development Plan by the Board of Supervisors in 2005. There was a condition placed on that rezoning that if there was no activity or substantial progress by 2012, that the board shall take action to revoke the master development plan and revert the zoning back to RU4. We did notify the property owner and have not heard from them concerning this. There has been no activity in that area, and they have not been in touch with us with any potential activity to be in that area. Property is located just west of Benson. It's a fairly large property located just south of Interstate 10. Staff does recommend approval of revoking the master development plan and reverting the zoning to RU4. And I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
He's asking for if you need any questions or clarification, Ms. Judd.
So why did they not respond? Were you assured that they received it? Is it just one single owner? I have a lot of questions that all go together. And are they like out-of-state owners that just right now don't have any interest in their own large piece of property?
I can't speak to their interest. I can say they are out-of-state owners. They own quite a bit of land in the Benson area. They're out of Nebraska. Can't say why they didn't respond. I have heard, though, that they have interest in selling the property. Potentially a new property owner wouldn't want the master development plan in place. I didn't want to bring this up because I don't have a lot of details, but a staff member who used to work in planning and zoning did mention that there was a ballot referendum on this and that it did pass. So this is really just more of a formal action of supporting the voters that voted to overturn the board's decision of
You
approving.
may not remember, Ms. Judd, but this was shot down by the voters, this Smith Ranch proposal, probably, I don't know, 30 years ago or something. Long
20
time
years
ago.
ago.
40 years ago.
Thank you. Well, thank you for bringing it to our attention, and I'm certainly in favor of downzoning anywhere, and in that community in particular. I've got a couple of constituents that are interested in different things like that over there. So this seems like a win-win to me. So
Okay.
My preference is also for lower density. Thank you for your presentation, Mr. Coxworth.
Thank you.
Okay. I don't have any questions. I'm always interested in us clearing up the paperwork that we have. And if we said we were going to have a revision, then we should have a revision. You know, take it off the books.
More to come too.
Right. All right. So we have explored as much as the board, I guess, doesn't have any further questions. I'll close the public hearing, and we do have a motion on the floor to adopt zoning ordinance 2222 and the additional docket. So all those in favor say aye.
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 Chair votes aye, and it's unanimous and so ordered. We now move out of the public hearings into the action items. Number 10 is a letter of agreement with High Ground. Mr. Karwachka.
Yes, Madam Chair. Is there a motion first or?
Have a motion?
Certainly. I move we approve a letter of agreement with High Ground, Inc. for public affairs consulting and related services regarding the public involvement process for the proposed Cochise County Jail District in the amount of $3,500 per month, effective November 15th, 2022 through May 15th, 2023.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor now for information.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Supervisor Judge, Supervisor Crosby. So as you may recall, High Ground assisted us in the Public Outreach Committee. So they were able to put together the information, the timeline, and kind of get us organized because we haven't done a jail district in the past. So they were essential for us being organized to get out information. And because of your vote today, we're going to need their assistance again because the process doesn't end today. We have an election and a vote that's going to happen in May. So between now and then, we're going to keep increasing and giving out information and setting up meetings and pushing out all the things that were requested by Supervisor Crosby today and what we've heard from the public so far to make sure all the questions are answered and make sure that the voters are educated before they actually make the vote. So they were very crucial and essential. And the first step, I know we need their guidance moving forward so that we are able to give out the right information. Also, attached in the previous agenda item was their study, and I would suggest and recommend the board look at a survey that they did. It was very informative about what the voters do. So they're very knowledgeable about this area. We do need their services. So I would take any questions.
Questions?
Yes, Mr. Karwachka, did High Ground talk about bond origination and who was going to be the originator of the bond?
No, it's simply regarding the jail district. The bond and the bond initiative would have to be a separate matter.
Okay. Did they, so I assume that there was also no discussion of bond sales, whether they were to be to the public or a few private holders?
Correct. There's no discussion whatsoever about the bond or bond initiative.
Okay. So as I said before, as long as everybody tells the truth and informed voters vote for it, so be it. I have no problem. Because there's no provision for an opposing view financed by the government, as there is for a pro-jail viewpoint, I'll be voting against this. Because I don't think that High Ground is going to be unbiased.
I would like to suggest, I don't know, I think because it helps me, you know, when I'm looking at an issue to have frequently asked questions and answers so that it's a way of informing without you having to ask all the separate questions. And so there are going to be questions that everyone wants to know about. And instead of putting it in some kind of paragraph form, sometimes it's just a suggestion that they look to see if that might not be a good way to get information out to the public.
Yes, if I may, that and information will be in several different forms, and that's why it's crucial for their help, because not only would it be frequently asked questions, statements, it would also be public outreach, which would include the sheriff, the county staff, going to location, listening to the public, answering their questions, and getting feedback. So their involvement is crucial in gathering that information, so make sure that we are not forgetting or not giving enough information. So when you talk about transparency, and I know during at least the public committee part, when we had one of our presenters from National Institute of Jails Association state that he's thankful that we were so transparent, that we're doing this process because most people don't. And that is because of High Ground's assistance, is to make sure that we're getting that right information and they can help us with that. So, so we're going to attack this in several different ways to push out information, but that will be one of them. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Well, particularly since today there was the controversial issue of sales tax and property tax. And so we need to be aggressive about showing that to the public. You know, that's one of the issues that they're going to ask. Well, how much is it going to cost me? So certainly. Ms. Judd, do you have any questions or comments?
I do not. Thank you.
Okay, well, we have a motion on the floor. Did you have any further information to put in the record?
I do not.
Okay. Any other comments?
No further comments. Thank you.
Okay. All those in favor of this letter of agreement with High Ground, say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. All those opposed?
Nay.
Let the record show we had one nay vote, but it still is approved and so ordered. Now we move on to item number 11 is the, yes. Yeah.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
I make the motion, okay?
please do.
I move that we approve payment for outside legal representation pursuant to the legal services agreement between the Valley Law Group, PLLC, and the Cochise County Board of Supervisors for outside legal representation in the matter of CV 2022-00518, Arizona Alliance of Retired Americans, Inc., and Stephanie Stevenson versus Tom Crosby, Ann English, Peggy Judd, David Stevens, and Lisa Mara, all in their official capacities entered into by Mr. Richard G. Karwachka, County Administrator, as directed by the Board at the November 2nd, 2022 emergency meeting.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion in a second. Now let's have some information from the County Administrator.
Yes, Madam Chair. Attached is the agreement that I was directed to sign in regards to the litigation. I don't know what, I mean, the attached agreement has been included in the agenda item. I don't know what other information is needed.
I would like to hear from Madam Judd if she has comments about this item.
I believe that all we can say now is this was a group in our official capacities. I remember agreeing, I remember very clearly agreeing that we needed to, we were told we would pay for our own counsel. I am collecting funds, have funds ready to go. As soon as that is made available, the process, I will pay my, I believe this is only to cover the three of us. I will pay my 33 1/3% reimbursed to the county, or however. I just want to make that statement very clear up front. I am whenever this came at us, as all of us in our official capacity, I am willing to pay more because I feel responsible for this. And so whatever I can collect over 33 and a third, I will put in to cover our honorable chairman, things like that. But we are working at a way to reimburse this to the county. So just so people know that up front. And that's all I had to say, unless there were specific things that come up in this conversation. I may have more to say. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Karwatska, what kind of payment are we talking about? Outside payment or payment by tax funding? In this
is $10,000 retainer to paid by general fund.
and as opposed to what? Private funding. And then Madam Judd mentioned reimbursement. So I just want everybody to know how everything's going to work.
I am unaware of any other funding that this was the board. There's an improvement.
You're expecting either the county to be reimbursed by the board.
I'm not expecting anything at this point in time.
So
I'm expecting that
with this agenda item, what source of payment? It says approved payment. So
it's approved that $10,000 retainer that Mr. Blem, who we hired as legal services, has requested that we pay. No detailed bill has been presented since that point in time.
Okay.
But that $10,000 that he works off of, and he listed his hourly rate, I think it's $325. I don't have the agreement in front of me, an hour. And that's, I'm sure there's expenses that would be included in that. So he'd work off that money, and this money would be funded from the general fund.
Until when? Until my understanding is we are funding this effort privately. And I believe that's what Ms. Judd is saying also.
I don't know the details of any kind of private funding. I know Ms. Supervisor Judd and you have mentioned private funding. I don't believe, and I don't have a full analysis of the board can accept private funding in this manner. And I would ask Ms. Roberts at this point in time. And I don't know the detail of the funding you're talking about, so that's when you're saying expecting.
Right. Well,
these are all general.
I'm surprised it came up on an agenda item because I thought we voted on this after an executive session, didn't we recently? Or was that an appeal?
That was an appeal. This is, you asked for me to hire and execute this document because of the time frame of the lawsuit. I know mentions of private funding, but until we understand what kind of private funding, what direction there is, a bill has to be paid, and most bills and legal fees are paid from the general fund monies.
Okay, I think that we should table this until we get more information from the attorneys. Both myself and Madam Judd intend, to my knowledge, to pay for this privately, and so let's look into that. And I move that we table this until the next meeting.
I'll second that.
And if I can make one comment, and I don't know Mr. Blem's position, if he's present, because this retainer was supposed to be paid upon signing, but that was my only additional comment.
My comment is that the board sent the letter, and it was at the request.
Madam Chair, I'm sorry. Point of order. I'm going to remove my second so we can continue this discussion because it seems like it's happening anyway. Thank you.
I was going to say the board picked the attorney and told Mr. Karwatska to...
Point of order. My understanding is that Ms. Judd has removed her second from the motion. Is that correct, Madam Judd?
Yes, for now, because discussion was continuing and I need to correct that
so
in order to allow discussion.
I made a motion to table it. So do you want to table it or do you want to discuss it as per the original motion?
Discuss.
You need to consider that you have probably 6 or 7 people from the public that came to speak on this
Right.
issue.
Let's vote on the second, isn't it? Yeah, it's appropriate to vote on the table first and go back.
Does it count that I removed my second from that table
For what?
motion?
You removed your second from the table motion?
Yes.
Okay, that's fine. I was unclear, I'm sorry.
Okay.
So we still have the original.
So we're not going to table.
That's right.
Okay.
There wasn't a vote on tabling because there wasn't a second. The public is here to speak, and I have several speakers. You'll be limited to 3 minutes per person. And I'm going to ask that you sort of line up so that we're not here all day, because we have several other issues that people wish to speak on. So the first 5 speakers will be Jeff Sturgis, Jennifer Druckmann, Allison Morris, Jill Hamilton, and Kate Scott. So if you would line up, please, in that order. And we'll begin with Jeff Sturgis.
My name is Jeff Sturgis. I live in Sierra Vista. Supervisor Judd and Supervisor Crosby, can you really be serious? You are warned by your own county attorney not to proceed with this unethical, anti-democratic, and illegal hand count scheme, yet you persisted. You are warned by your state secretary of state, now the governor, not to proceed, yet you persisted. You were told by so many of your constituents that this was against their interests, the interests of the state, of Arizona's election process, and our American representational democratic system, yet you persisted. At every turn, you persisted in disregarding common sense, ethics, and the rule of law. And now that the law has caught up with you, you want your constituent taxpayers to foot your legal bills. Anyone who has paid attention to Board of Supervisors meetings lately concerning the hand count issue should remember well that both Supervisors Crosby and Judd stated they would and could secure private legal representation using private funds. Anyone can revisit the video on the Board of Supervisors emergency meeting of November 2nd and hear the supervisors say these words. After Supervisor Crosby held up a letter from his attorney and mentioned that he would be willing to rely on private funding, Supervisor Judd said, "I plan to pay my portion." If one examines the legal agreement that the board will vote on today, one sees that the initial $10,000 is only a retaining fee. The agreement is then to agree to possibly pay a slew of attorneys and other employees of the firm hourly fees ranging from $110 to $400 an hour. In other words, Cochise County taxpayers will be on the hook for some hefty costs to defend the childish, unethical, and illegal actions of their public servants. Supervisor Judd and Crosby, can you really be serious? I am. I respectfully request that both of you resign. Thank you.
Jennifer Druckmann. Name and address first, please.
Jennifer Druckmann, Bisbee, Arizona. There's one reason why the hand count scheme was concocted in the first place. It was Donald Trump. Trump has been calling elections rigged since 2012. Look it up. It's part of his playbook. Never was a man more unfit to be president of this great nation. Because of his narcissism, fragile ego, complete lack of integrity, when he lost the election, he couldn't say, "I concede." He wanted to be a dictator. He took the greatest democracy that this world has known and trampled all over it. He took us to the brink with his lies, and the reason he was lying, he was ashamed to be a loser. It's as simple as that. And look at what he has put this country through. He is a loser, all right. Instead of conceding, like every other president in the history of the United States, he set up a wide-ranging, months-long campaign to delegitimize what was described by U.S. election officials as the most secure election in U.S. history, the 2020 presidential election. He traumatized the entire country, and his actions are still being investigated 2 years later. And here in Cochise County, 2 years later, with no evidence of fraud, 2 Cochise County Board of Supervisors brought our county into Trump's web of lies just 3 weeks before midterm elections. You want people to trust you, and you think you should be in positions of authority. You claimed that this whole idea was predicated on people having more faith in the election process in our elected officials. And look at what you've just done. It feels like you've deceived everybody, because when you voted to do the hand count, you were told it was illegal. And because of that, you said you were going to pay for your own legal representation. And now, are you going to make us vote? Are you going to vote to make us pay for it? Because that's what this agenda item makes it sound like. If that's what you're going to do, it's very unclear. The entire hand count scheme was very unclear. And if that's in your intention, how dare you? This election made clear that the United States has had enough of these insane conspiracy theories. Election officials, thousands of them working in every town in this entire country, have had enough of these conspiracy theories. They've had enough of death threats, and they've had enough of this insanity. You accomplished exactly what Steve Bannon wanted to accomplish, which was to create chaos and confusion so he could call the election results into question. But by and large, Cochise County voted Republican. So what was the point of all of this? Congratulations, great work. Just don't make us pay for it.
Allison Morris.
Well, I think people have said things pretty well already, but I'm going to refresh you with the November 2nd meeting. Supervisor Judd did say that she would pay her own portion of private funding, and Chairperson English said that that was not a point of discussion at that time. And earlier, at other meetings, Supervisor Judd had alluded to the searching for a pro bono attorney, and as well as seeking out the Senate as a funding source. So I don't know where this money is coming from, but it certainly should not be coming from the taxpayers, because that was not what we were led to believe. At the October 24th meeting, Chairperson English reminded the board early on that they had been told by the county attorney and state elections director that their proposed action was unlawful, cannot and will not be represented by county resources. There is no law, she said, no authority, and no process for what they plan to do. She implored Judd and Crosby to reconsider their actions and approach the legislature to make the process legal, but they plowed ahead, completely disregarding her, the county attorney, and the Secretary of State, pursuing this course of action up to the Arizona Supreme Court, where even at that level, their appeal was denied. The retaining fee for Brian Blem of the Valley Law Group, chosen by Judd, is $10,000. Additional services are $325 an hour. County Attorney Brian McIntyre at the October 24th meeting reiterated that the board will pay their own attorney's fees, and when opposing parties prevail in their claims, the board will pay that party's attorney's fees as well. In other words, the board is financially responsible for their own legal representation, as well as the legal fees involved with the charges brought against them. Since Judd and Crosby lost their case for completing the full expanded hand count, the opposing party has prevailed, increasing the supervisor's costs significantly. Additionally, Mr. McIntyre stated that if any member found to be in bad faith, breach of contract, for example, they could become personally liable. Local government is subject to potential loss of state funding as well. That, in all of this, is a tremendous cost to ourselves, this community, and us voters, and you are all, except Supervisor English, you are, and Supervisor Judd, Supervisor Crosby, really are to blame. Thank you.
Jill Hamilton. Name and address first, please.
Yes, I'm Jill Hamilton. I live in Hereford, Arizona, and to address the Board of Supervisors and be against this action item, I was in attendance to those prior meetings, and I heard with my own ears Ms. Judd and Mr. Crosby unequivocally state lawyer fees to defend their actions related to the vote counting would not be borne by the citizens of Cochise County. They would take care of it themselves, have it funded through other sources, and have it covered pro bono. Yet we are here, and I think I heard today tell the truth about the cost. This action item is asking taxpayers to pony up and pay your cyber ninja lawyer for the decision you made to continue with your action of going against Arizona law and the injunctions of 3 judicial entities. If you can't dazzle them with brilliance, then baffle them with bullshit. You still have time to step up and do the right thing and give the money that has to be paid today. You still have time. It doesn't take courage to break the law. It takes courage to uphold it. Supposedly that's what Mike Pence told his daughter. So board, manifest courage. Do not put this off on the citizens of Cochise County. You knowingly flaunted the law, so I implore you to stand behind the consequences of your actions. Pay your team of lawyers and drop this ongoing attempt to circumvent your promises. I'm at a loss for anything more because this is where you have left us.
Kate Scott. Kate Scott. Going once, going twice. Okay. Is she online? Kim, it doesn't say here.
Madam Chair, I do not see her online.
Okay. Then we'll move on. We have Steve Marlette, Michael Brown, Catherine Welch, and Sandra Clark.
Madam Chair, my name is Stephen L. Marlatt. I am here today to speak to this item. I did hear what Supervisors Crosby and Judd stated, that they were planning on paying this, but this agreement that you're discussing today does not mandate that. There's no mandate that they will be able to pay this money back. And to go forward on this puts the county at a great risk. We just heard today of how short the county is on money. We have so many things that we're not able to fund at the level we'd like to do. The county is, we're not a rich county. And so to be able to open the county to an unlimited amount on this, it seems very reckless and irresponsible. The county has a very capable attorney in County Attorney McIntyre. He has already advised the council that this is not something legal that he can defend. And so all of these costs should 100% be borne by these two supervisors. Thank you very much for your time.
Next is Michael Brown. Name and address first, Michael.
Michael Brown, Sierra Vista. As a taxpayer of Cochise County, I am strongly opposed to county funds being used to pay for an outside attorney to defend the illegal actions of two supervisors and the county recorder. These hand count actions are not within their official capacities. If it was, they would not need a lawyer. And I have questions. Is this action legal under the Arizona procurement code, relevant Arizona revised statutes and the Cochise County procurement policy? The codes, laws, and regulations to ensure a fair and reasonable price. Has the county attorney's office reviewed this payment? And are there no local attorneys
who could be contracted at a much reasonable cost. Thank you.
Thank you. Catherine Welch.
Catherine Welch, I live in Bisbee, Arizona. As per previous meetings that I attended, after being informed multiple times by qualified legal representatives regarding the illegality of their proposed hand count, Mrs. Judd and Mr. Crosby continued against advice and sought to implement their intended plan and sidestep the advice of official legal counsel of Cochise County by seeking outside legal representation when they were informed that Cochise County would not legally represent them in illegal activities they knew were against the law. They had been told many times, and there are many witnesses to them receiving that information. They stated they were willing to personally finance their own outside representation. And now here we are with the outcome of the fiscal recklessness for the personal agenda of Mrs. Judd and Mr. Crosby. Their irresponsibility with taxpayer funds is egregious and indefensible. What they sought to do pertained not to the residents and taxpayers of Cochise County at large, but a small fringe fragment with special interest. Not only should the taxpayers not be responsible to pay for this ill-advised stunt, Mr. Crosby and Mrs. Judd have both demonstrated they do not hold the rule of law in regard, and they do not hold their positions as county supervisors with responsibility and accountability, and both should tender their resignation or be removed. Thank you.
Sandra Clark. Let's be nice now, Sandra, okay?
I'll try. I have to say that I'm absolutely amazed to be in this forum, have two people sitting on this board of supervisors who make so many decisions that affect so many people's lives, who have committed crimes. They were told repeatedly that what they wanted to do to sow distrust in the community about the legality of our elections, which undermines our very cornerstone of our democracy. They were told repeatedly it is illegal. They went to trial. They lost. The Supreme Court said it is illegal, you shouldn't do it. So then they play this childish game of, well, we are not going to go for 100%, we'll go for 99.9%. Who does that? And then for them to have the right to vote on their own behalf, to have taxpayer pick up the tab. How is this normal? It is not normal. When you are involved in a serious matter such as this one, you should recuse yourself. You should have no right to vote for yourself, for your self-interest. You are public servants, Mr. Crosby. Don't read your monitor.
Sorry.
Listen to me.
Sorry, I'm listening.
That's what you are paid to do.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Shame on you.
No, not shame on me.
Shame on you.
Negative.
This is a democratic country.
Negative. You know what?
Arizona rejected
We get to appeal. That's what the court systems are for, Ms. Clark. That's what the court systems
not for
are
a
for.
sham trial, not for a mock trial making a mockery of our laws. No, sir, you are wrong. You are making a disgusting sham of what our laws are all about. You, sir, should learn from one of your leaders, Mr. Fincham, loser, insurrectionist, denier. He lost because he lied. And you who are asking people to tell you about the truth, you want the truth, you don't know what truth is. Means nothing to you. You are a self-serving demagogue. Thank you.
Joy Banks.
Hello, can you hear me? This is Joy Banks. Joy Banks, I live in the unincorporated county, and I'm deeply distressed that this is on the agenda, as the fact that Ms. Judd and Mr. Crosby specifically said that they were going to find legal help of their own and pay for it. And obviously, you two did not even understand how the county works. To understand that when you had Mr. Karwashka sign this agreement, that the county would be on the hook for your legal bills. So, you two do not understand how the county works. And it's been so obvious for years. Ms. Judd, since you came on as a supervisor, and Mr. Crosby, as you came on as a supervisor, that you do not understand the basics of running the county. You don't seem to be interested in learning how to do it better, in learning how to work with your staff, in learning how to work with your partner government agencies. You two are so unqualified to hold your positions. In our business, my husband and I own an electrical contracting business that is set to complete $5 million in contracts this year. We have $1.3 million a year in payroll to 30 employees, most of whom live in Cochise County. We have provided value for this county. We have invested in people's lives in this county. And we train people. We have 11 people that we're paying for their apprenticeship program tuition, and that allows these people to move up in the world, to buy their first vehicles, their first houses, for their spouses to stay home with their little kids. We're giving value to this county. And I ask you, Ms. Judd and Mr. Crosby, what kind of value are you giving to me as a business owner? Do you care about what you're doing to our reputation as residents of this county? You don't seem to care. You care about conspiracy theories. You care about encouraging people to ask you to do illegal things instead of teaching them what elections mean, instead of showing them that our elections are fair and overseen by a good department that on Saturday did the legal hand count they were set to do, and it came out 100% match with the machine results. So you two worry me greatly as a business owner in this
Your time
county.
is up, Joy.
Thank you, Miss English.
Madam English, I have a question for Mr. Maddox, if I may.
Mr. Maddox.
Mr. Maddox, what agenda item is this on Agenda Quick? You don't have to tell me now, just sometime in the near future. That's all.
Okay. I do have several other people who wish to have their name read as opposed on agenda item number 11. I won't name addresses. I'm only going to name names. Joan Murphy, Diane Davidson, Deborah Hertzkog, April Newman, Robert Rodriguez, Peter Levine, Peter Wasser, Marjorie Ann Murphy, Henry Von Camacho, Susan Lynn Dalby, Elizabeth Tyndall, Deborah Anbinder, Karen LeMay, Chris Dietz, Tamara Birch, Mary Susan Wasser, Judith Maruska, Andrew Knoll, Marianne Capehart, Elizabeth Hinson, Bonita Schweitzer. So those names are going into the record as opposed to agenda item number 11. Now, we do have a motion and a second on the floor. Any further conversation from the board members?
Yeah, I didn't intend to keep people from saying whatever they wanted to say by recommending that the item be tabled, but once again, I am moving that the item be tabled.
And I'm going to second that.
if you want to table, you have to table to a time certain.
Next meeting.
You'll have to
Next
do
meeting.
that.
Next regular meeting. I'll second that it's tabled to the next regular meeting.
November
29th.
29th. Perfect.
We have a motion and a second to table agenda item number 11 until November 29th. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? Chair votes nay. I think we need to get this over with. But two ayes, and so it is tabled until the next meeting, November 20, what did I say?
29th.
November 29th.
I have a question for Mr. Mattis again. Were you able to find that yet?
Supervisor Crosby, I have not yet.
Okay.
I will and let you know.
All right, item number 11, approve the use of the American Rescue Plan Act. Ms. Gilman, ready to give us that information? Well, maybe we need a motion on the floor.
Number 12, right?
Yes.
Approve the use of $9,277,390 of American Rescue Plan Act ARPA funds for fiscal year 2022 to 2023 general fund payroll.
I'll second that.
Okay, I have a motion in a second. Go ahead, Ms. Gilman.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Supervisor Crosby, Supervisor Judd. We had a work session in late October where we talked about the use of county American Rescue Plan Act funds. The county did receive a total of $24.4 million from the federal government, and the U.S. Treasury's final rule describes payroll for government employees as an allowable expense for the ARPA government services expense category. So we are requesting that we utilize $9,277,390 of these ARPA funds for general fund payroll of FY23. Upon approval, Finance will make an interfund transfer of that amount from ARPA to the general fund contingency. And after completion, approximately $7 million will remain in ARPA that the board has given direction to reserve for broadband and port of entry.
Any questions from the board members? I know we did have a work session on this and came to somewhat of an agreement. Any questions, comments?
No comments at this time, Madam Chair.
Ms. Judd, any comments?
I'm fine. No, thank you.
Okay, well then we have a motion and a second on the floor, so I'm going to call for the vote. All those approve, say aye.
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 Chair votes aye, and it's unanimous and so ordered. Item number 13.
Madam Chair, I move we approve Peggy Judd as chairperson of the Cochise County Board of Supervisors as of the next meeting of the Board of Supervisors.
And may I repeat, this is not a second. This is my comments regarding this motion. I'm honored that I was, is it okay for me to just make a comment and not second?
No, it's not. You have to open the.
Please don't. Go ahead, Ms. Judd.
I'm honored to be deemed worthy by fellow supervisor as being the chairman of this board. However, I am not able to personally take on that responsibility at this time, and I may be able to in January. At that point, I would be honored once again to be considered. There just is so much going on right now in my home and family that I can't take on that extra responsibility. And to add to that, I would like to add my appreciation and my support to Supervisor Chairman Ann English for her as the chairman, and I'm grateful for her and appreciate her in that work. And maybe at another time we can discuss this, but today I can't take on that responsibility. So I did not second.
Hearing no second, it seems as though we will not be able to act on this issue, and we will then move to item number 14. And I believe that's in my ball court. We're each given some money for community enhancement. And I have been asked by the Community Development Department, who is working on the Bisbee Douglas International Airport, trying to get more businesses and more concerns out there, to help them pay for signage. So I'm going to ask that we have, or I'm going to make the motion that we approve. Could we shut whoever's on the line speaking? Okay. My motion is to approve Community Development Enhancement Fund expenditures for District 2 purchase of signage for the Bisbee Douglas International Airport in the amount of $25,000.
Second.
I have a second. I do need to make a further explanation. It isn't the total cost of the signage. The signage is about $56,000. It's a large sign going up at the entrance of the Bisbee, the BDI airport. So if you have any questions, I might be able to answer them. Community Development is the one that is looking to procure this sign, and they simply asked for funding. And since it was in my district, I did offer to give them some funding with the board's approval. Any questions or comments for me, Ms. Judd?
I don't have any. Thank you, Ann. It's very well supported from here.
Tom?
No questions. Thank you.
Okay, then I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Chair votes aye, and it's unanimous and so ordered. Item number 15, need a motion on a mutual aid agreement.
Madam Chair, I move we approve a mutual aid agreement, IMW91QUS 22-040 MAA between U.S. Army Garrison Fort Huachuca and the Cochise County Sheriff's Office to identify and document the presence of undocumented immigrants in Cochise County within the U.S. Army Garrison Fort Huachuca.
I second that.
Just 1 minute. Let me see if I... On item number 13.
Item number 15.
That was Peggy Judd. 13 was Peggy Judd as chair.
And we didn't bring that up, so I didn't have the opportunity to call these people.
It wasn't seconded.
Right. So I wanted to make sure I wanted to cover that before I move forward here. Okay, we have a motion and a second on the mutual aid agreement. Mr. Giganto.
Lieutenant John Giganto with the Sheriff's Office. Pardon me. The Sheriff's Office would like to continue our partnership with Fort Huachuca. Specifically this time, the Fort and the Sheriff's Office would like to partner to install some cameras that we've used historically for our border operations, give them to Fort Huachuca to set up and deploy with the support equipment that's required to keep them operational so that they can better detect and deter the flow of immigration across their garrison. So we would provide the equipment, they would install them, they would respond to the telemetry we receive from the camera system. There's no cost incurred by the Sheriff's Office. They're cameras that have been purchased through Border Strike Force funding from the state. So it's a similar arrangement we've had with other partners with the same technology.
So do we look at the film?
We see all the imagery that comes in through the system.
But we don't respond.
We don't. So basically, the imagery would come in, it would have a detection of some suspected undocumented aliens. That information would be forwarded to Fort Huachuca, who would coordinate with Border Patrol or their own assets to respond on the garrison.
Any comments or questions?
You betcha, Mr. Giganto. Why do you want to do this?
Well, Fort Huachuca has a nexus with the border. Obviously, the community has some concern and interest in the immigration traffic that's traveling into our communities. We don't know right now the volume or scope of the problem on Fort Huachuca, because we don't have assets deployed there. They may travel through the fort, and their destination isn't Fort Huachuca, so they're going to travel on into other communities in the county or enter our roadway systems and cause the traffic problems we've been dealing with now and further penetrating into the United States. So we have multiple interest in trying to identify and quantify that information.
Okay. So when you identify and quantify the number of illegal aliens that are on Fort Huachuca, then what from the Sheriff's Department?
We pass the information on to Border Patrol, and it's their responsibility to do the interdiction work and their role in the immigration process. Other than the statistical data, we don't do a whole lot more with it than that, but we do facilitate Border Patrol and Fort Huachuca being able to address the problem that's occurring on their installation.
Okay. My comment would be that I don't think statistics are useless, and I don't think they are of no value. And I'm grateful for instance, all the dope that gets seized. My position is that the correct response is to prevent illegal entry across the border. That is my position. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Ms. Judd, do you have any questions or comments?
I do not. Thank you.
It seems as though we're providing hard cameras. We're providing the information that comes off of those, and then we let it go.
Yes, Madam Chair.
Okay. Any further questions or comments before I call for the vote?
No further comments.
Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Chair votes aye, and it's unanimous and so ordered. Thank you, Mr. Giganto. We have one additional grant agreement. Do I have a motion for that, please?
My turn.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve grant agreement HT-22-2912 with the City of Tucson, Southwest Border Arizona Region High Intensity Drug Trafficking Area, which is HITDA program, and the Cochise County Sheriff's Office to participate in the Southern Arizona Major Investigative Team Summit in the amount of $87,668 for salaries, partial fringe benefits or ERE, services, and supplies effective January 1st, 2022 through December 31st, 2023.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Now, explain this one to us.
This is a reoccurring grant that we've had for many, many years. It allows us to provide a task force officer deputy to the DEA. They pick up the salary, overtime, and 15% of the employee-related expenses. We do have to pick up 85% of those expenses, which I believe come to roughly $36,000 and change in this particular cycle. But it provides us an opportunity to have an extra body to work on interdiction, narcotics, fentanyl, and all those things that adversely impact our communities.
Any questions, comments?
No comments or questions.
Ms. Judd?
No, ma'am.
Hey, you're getting off easy this morning, Giganto.
I'm not out of here yet, Madam Chair.
If there are no further questions or comments, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, and it's unanimous and so ordered.
Thank you.
Item number 17. Could we have a motion, please?
Madam Chair, I move we approve the Border Strike Task Force Agreement between the State of Arizona Department of Public Safety, DPS, and the Cochise County Sheriff's Office, CCSO, in the amount of $5 million effective from the date of signing to June 30th, 2024, to purchase, renovate, and equip a building to be used as a Southeast Arizona Combined Intelligence and Border Operations Center.
I'll second that.
One more word in there. Could you put in there purchase, renovate, build? Make all the options there?
That was 17, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Where did you think I made a mistake? After purchase?
You didn't make a mistake. I'm asking if we could add that word in there so that we'd have all the options, whether we wanted to purchase, renovate, build, and equip.
Madam Roberts, do you have a comment on adding the word build after purchase? Sure.
I think in conversations with Sheriff Daniels, he's always said, this is accepting the money. We need all the options left open, and I just wanted to make sure we had them in the wording. If we can't add it, that's fine.
If I could just have one moment.
It's not meant to change the outcome.
You want me to reread it?
I think you can just say after renovate to build.
How about signing to June 30th, 2024 to purchase, build, renovate, and equip a building to be used as a Southeast Arizona Combined Intelligence and Border Operations Center.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Now, tell us why we need this, Sheriff Daniels.
Madam Chair, board members, citizens, and staff members here today. Good morning again. This is an exciting, innovative, cutting-edge approach that we're looking here in Cochise County, which actually will be the first of its kind along the southwest border. It's no secret that we've had challenges with border security here in Cochise County and beyond, working with my partners, and I'll talk about that in just a minute. So last year, working with Governor Ducey and our state lawmakers on what are the needs here in Arizona on the southwest border, specific to Cochise County and beyond, as I just stated. And one thing that we've seen over the years, based on our proven results, and I'll talk about that, is the fact to have a collective public safety center to address border security challenges. And so this operations center, investigative center, will be collective for our LE partners. Right now we work with 13 different law enforcement areas. We have in stock just under 1,200 cameras under our virtual system. I'll talk about that in a minute. We have 32 National Guard and support staff that work directly with us to provide what you guys just approved a minute ago with Fort Huachuca and along the whole southern Arizona border, not just Cochise County. We watch those. We have the criminal addiction team that interdicts for smuggling. We have street crimes, canines. We have our SABRE team, which is Southern Arizona Border Regional Enforcement. We're hoping to put a human trafficking unit in there that deals with trafficking of people when it comes to children, females and males, an intel group. And I'll say this, to give you an example, the governor just is not going to give us funds or anybody funds unless there's proven results. Action driven, I'm big on that. It's got to be efficient, it's got to be effective, and it's got to fit our mission. And the mission is public safety, national security, and humanitarian. Last but not least is to deter the crime in Cochise County. That's my job as a sheriff, within my oath. Our SABRE team, which we kicked off this virtual system in 2017, has had 110,000 plus encounters on our cameras. We've apprehensions working with Border Patrol, 37,423. 437 drug mules on our camera system. By the way, the system is built up of 1,197 cameras, 260 repeaters, and 659 are deployed at this time. We just got a new shipment of cameras in, thanks to the state on that. The jail, I want to talk about what the impact since January on the jail has been when it comes to Cochise County and our border. We have booked over 1,300 people in our jail since January 1st for state border-related crimes. Everything from murder all the way down to stolen vehicles, DUIs, accidents, pursuits. Out of that 1,303, 78 were juveniles. To give you where we sit today, based on the numbers I got 2 weeks ago from my team, 44% of my jail right now is border-related crimes, which is we just had a big discussion on our jail. Out of those, 144 were fair to yield, which were pursuits coming through our communities, which that's part of what the criminal interdiction team that you guys approved just recently is to help bring those to safe conclusions. In the last 3 months, the jail cost in Cochise County just for border-related crimes was $1.2 million. Now, thanks to Governor Ducey again on the cutting edge, if it wasn't for the governor or state lawmakers, everybody in this room, to include myself, would be paying those bills. Right now, the governor's paying those bills. We got another grants that hopefully will be in front of you here in the near future to address sustaining those costs into the future to help our taxpayers and our people in this county. Under the new smuggling law that went into effect September 24th of this year, we've booked right at 70 people for smuggling in Cochise County under state law. Safe Streets, which is the operation we run since March of this year to about 2 weeks ago. And they don't work every day. They work 4 to 10 hours a day, 4 days a week, somewhere right in there. It's not every day. Just to give you an idea of the magnitude of what this unit's done, this is a multi-faceted approach of law enforcement, 897 smuggling investigations, 478 victims of border-related crimes, 2,205 undocumented aliens were turned over to Border Patrol, 732 smugglers were turned over to Border Patrol. Let me just caveat that also to say that under the new smuggling law, if we stop them, we charge them and they go in our jail under the new law. 21 weapons were seized and 211 failure to yields. We don't get them all. We don't, because of community risk. Sometimes we have to stop the pursuit. So what I would ask this board on this cutting edge, based on everything I just said, this will allow us to, again, to put all our special operations into one facility, whether we build it, whether we purchase a building or renovate a building. And that'll be discussions. I've been working very close with the county administrator and a lot of his team, Joe Casey for IT, and looking what's out there to include what would be the cost to build one. So, and I'm looking forward to those conversations. So I would ask for your support and approve the contract between the state of Arizona and Cochise County for the amount of $5 million to purchase, build, or renovate a facility here in Cochise County. I'll stand for questions.
Any questions, Ms. Judd?
I just wanted to mention that this is I don't know if it's long overdue. I wish we didn't have to do it at all, but it is something that I can see the benefit of. And I do hope that we've learned some lessons from CCOM as well, because that is a multi-agency center. So I see this as being a huge success and also meeting an important need in our community. So thank you, Sheriff Daniels.
Thank you, Ms. Judd.
Sheriff Daniels, I had the opportunity to email Mr. Alinen, and he is under the impression that this is state tax money, not federal grant money. Is that correct?
Correct. It's under Border Strike Force.
He also said that what I asked for was an exhaustive list of other agencies. He doesn't claim that this is an exhaustive list, but he did say it won't include the IRS, CDC, EPA, or Bureau of Land Management. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you very much. Just to reiterate what I said when, is it Lieutenant Giganto?
Giganto.
Giganto, okay. I don't think that statistics are useless. To reiterate my position is to prevent illegal entry across the border.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, so today it looks like we're looking at accepting money, and then the hunt will be on to find a home.
Yes.
Okay, so no further comments? Hearing none, then I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Chair votes aye, and it's unanimous and so ordered.
Thank you, everybody.
Item number 18, need a motion for Homeland Security.
Number 18, approved grant subrecipient agreement 22 AZDOHS HSGP 220400-01 between the Arizona Department of Homeland Security, AZDOHS, and Cochise County Emergency Services effective October 1st, 2022 through September 30th, 2023 in the amount of $15,000 for SWAT equipment.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Mr. Duchan.
Daniel Duchan, Director of Emergency Management. Good afternoon, Madam Chairwoman, members of the board. Thank you for having me. I'm here to request approval of a grant with the Arizona Department of Homeland Security for $15,000 for SWAT equipment. These Homeland Security grants through the state come through the Emergency Management Office because they range across the disciplines: police, fire, EMS. This one happens to be the Sheriff's Office for SWAT equipment. The amount is $15,000 and it's for a specific type of bore scope camera for the Cochise County SWAT team. I can answer questions about the grant agreement, and Lieutenant Giganto is here to answer questions about the equipment.
So $15,000 camera.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Any questions, comments?
No questions, no comments.
Ms. Judd?
No, thank you.
We just don't know what it is. I mean, what kind of camera is it? It costs $15,000. What? Does it develop the film?
I too share your expressions with the price tag, but I assure you the $15,000 cost is an entry level camera. I don't even think it really approaches mid-level. So basically what a covert bore scope camera is, it's an older technology. It's nowhere near cutting edge. Basically, you have to mechanically create a hole in a wall. If we have an incident occurring, I think in 2021, we needed this device. We had to reach out. Actually, it was in support of, I think, of a different team, Sierra Vista PD, I believe. We had to get Pima County Regional's equipment down here to help out. Somebody had, there was a criminal incident occurring in a hotel room. We didn't have any kind of situational awareness about what was occurring. So we need to create a small hole in an adjoining wall, insert a fiber optic cable, which is the bore scope camera, through the wall so that we can look into the room structure and kind of get an idea about what's occurring in there to formulate a better plan.
Nobody can hear you drilling the hole?
Believe it or not, the very old hand crank drills that nobody has anymore, those are, I have one too, but I can't say I use it very often. But that's the type of equipment that we use to drill holes in the walls. You can use battery operated ones, but they're noisier.
Well, when you said borehole camera, I kept thinking, is it really? You know, they're going to bore a hole and put a camera in?
Yes, ma'am, absolutely. The other technology that allows us to view into the room remotely, it would add at least another zero onto that price tag.
Right. Any other questions or comments?
No.
Okay. Everybody's asked their questions, gotten their information. We have a motion on the floor. So all those in favor say aye.
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 Chair votes aye, and it's unanimous and so ordered. Well, that was my mistake. They're up next to the wall and I didn't see those. So we are between,
Just finished 18.
I know, between 18 and 19, and we did have someone here who wished to be on the record. I believe the other person just wanted to have the name read, and when I looked at it, I thought it was both of them. So we do have one that wishes to speak, and I think that for the record, it wouldn't be inappropriate for me to ask them to go ahead and speak now, would it?
Which item number is it in reference to? Which item number is it in
It
reference
was
to?
item number 17, and it was given to us at the appropriate time. It was the chair that overlooked it because I thought it was they just wanted to read their name. The other person just wanted the name, and they were on top of each other, so I didn't call either one of them.
Very good. We should give that person an opportunity to speak. You should give the person an opportunity to speak.
I thought so. So Fernando Jackdona, as we give other people, you'll have 3 minutes. You give your name and address. And for the record, I want to say that he is speaking on item number 17, which was the Border Strike Task Force Agreement for the sheriff, $5 million.
Members of the Board of Supervisors, my name is Fernando J. Dono, a retired Master Sergeant, and I reside in Sierra Vista, Arizona. I'm here to address you regarding the proposed Fusion Center for Border-Related Crimes. I am a retired intelligence electronic warfare field engineer with 4 decades of experience working with C4 ISR systems. I also worked for the National Security Agency for several years. Recently, I read an article in the newspaper involving possible criminal activity, and the Cochise County Sheriff's Office reached out to the public for help. All the sheriff's office had to work with was an email address. Within 15 minutes, using legal, open source information easily obtainable on the open internet, I was able to identify this individual, and I provided the information to Sheriff Daniels. In my discussion with the sheriff, I asked why this route was taken via outreach to the public, as opposed to detectives using analysis of the email to locate the individual. The sheriff told me that this was a serious delta in his department in that they did not have the qualified personnel and equipment to do this kind of work. I found that astonishing in this day and age, as most planned kinetic crimes usually originate online via the internet these days. I believe this fusion center could be very instrumental to law enforcement efforts in the county. Highly trained analysts could quickly analyze data sets to quickly act on crimes involving our county, which has a very large border. Here is the challenge for you three Board of Supervisors. All of you are honorable, law-abiding citizens. So is Sheriff Daniels. You must ensure that such a fusion center has strict and clear oversight. Like any tool, the wielder of the tool determines how the tool will be used. In the military and at agency, we had what is called intelligence oversight to ensure none of these systems were ever used for nefarious purposes. You've obviously decided to go forward with this measure. I caution you in the strongest language to keep in mind what you leave in place after you leave office. One day, someone else will sit in these chairs and someone else will wear the badge of Sheriff of Cochise County. These fearsome tools must be kept under a tight leash with redundant oversight. The background checks for those employed in this fusion center must be of the highest levels, and they must be closely monitored. We have to look no further than the debacle of the entire Spygate situation, which resulted in the firing of the last FBI director. Make sure the BOS always has a foot in the door and oversight of this fusion center, and never allow any unelected or appointed bureaucrats to have total and complete control of it. Make sure the three of you put in place the measures that there is redundant oversight of this fusion center. Thank you for your time.
There was one other individual, and so I'm going to read the name as opposed to item number 17, and it was Elizabeth Tyndall. So please accept my apology for overlooking you. Like I said, I thought it said, just put the name in the record, and I moved on. So now we're at item number 19. I need a motion for, yes, go ahead, Ms. Judd.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the contract lease agreement between Cochise County and Southeastern Arizona Government's Organization, SEGO, a nonprofit 501c3 for Area Agency on Aging office space at county properties located in Benson, Douglas, and Sierra Vista at a sum of $560 per month per location, effective November 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2023.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Supervisor Judge, Supervisor Crosby. As you remember, SEGO came to us and they were taking their staff for the area agency on aging, and they now are handling it internally. But their request to the county was if we had any available space that the current participants wouldn't be confused about different locations. We were able to find 3 locations in Benson, Douglas, and Sierra Vista. And for each location, it is $560 per month per location. Those are areas where their employees, which are no longer county employees, can access on their own and will not be accessing any other part of the county building. So we were able to do those and meet all those qualifications, and that's this agreement. And we took a little bit of time because we had to notice it to the public to abide by the statutes.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the board members?
I asked Mr. Manas about this, and I am satisfied with his response prior to the meeting.
Okay, Ms. Judd?
None, thank you.
So I just want to say thank you for working something out so that we do have the area agency on aging present in each community and still working. Even though we don't have the contract anymore, we want to make sure that our citizens have that access. So thank you for working that out. We do have a motion and a second on the floor. If there's no further discussion, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Chair votes aye, and it's unanimous and so ordered. Item number 20. Need a motion, please.
Madam Chair, I move we approve an intergovernmental agreement between Pinal County Public Health Services District and Cochise Health and Social Services, Cochise County Health and Social Services for the enhancement of health and well-being of women in Cochise County effective November 16th, 2022 through December 31st, 2023.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. So, Belinda?
Yes. Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board. So my name is Belinda. I'm the lead public health nurse for the Clinical Services Division. And Cochise County Health and Social Services currently has a grant, the Title V Maternal and Child Health Block Services Grant, which provides reproductive health services here.
Could you move the microphone down just a little bit?
Is this better?
Yeah, because your soft voice and the microphone being away, it might not be picked up for the record.
Okay.
Thank you.
So the approval of this IGA will allow the Cochise County healthcare provider to receive supervised training from the Pinal County healthcare providers on the insertion and removal of long-acting reversible contraceptives. Currently in Cochise County, we do not offer any long-acting reversible contraceptives, which have a lower risk of pregnancy. So if this IGA is not approved, it limits the birth control options that we can offer to women that come to our clinic for services. So I respectfully request your approval.
Okay. Any questions or comments from board members?
Yes, ma'am. What birth control options does this cover?
So long-acting reversible contraceptives include like IUD, the intrauterine devices, and implants like the Nexplanon.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions or comments, Ms. Judd?
I don't have any, thank you.
I have one other question. What is the connection between Pinal County and Cochise County?
They were just one of the counties that reached out to us that were willing to supervise and train our healthcare provider.
Okay, thank you.
So they have a program now?
Yes.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Hearing none, then I will call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Chair votes aye, and it's unanimous and so ordered.
Thank you.
Thank you, Belinda. It was worth waiting for, right? Okay, now Joe's going to be real upset if we don't give him $2 million after he sat here all this time. Let's have a motion for item number 21, please.
Madam Chair, I move that, well, I got it. Madam Chair, I move that we approve the use of $2,165,000 of general fund contingency for information technology projects.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Tell us why we need this, Joe.
Okay, so I'm requesting this money for several large projects that the county could benefit from. The first one is the network refresh, which is replacing all of our network equipment that is either at or is about to hit end of life or end of support, which increases the cybersecurity risk to the county. Same thing with our call manager that is also coming close to the end of life. And that is about $700,000. The network refresh is about $850,000. The next one is the disaster recovery system, which is a large server that we could recover to in the case of an incident, whether it's a cyber attack or natural disaster or an attack on our facility here. And that's about $260,000. The next one is mobile device management, which allows us to not control but access to secure our mobile phones and tablets. That's it on the cyber front. The other projects that asking money for is for the court video system to upgrade that to support modern technology. Right now it doesn't support everything that they need to do for requirements. And the last one is to extend fiber to the BDI terminal from the nearest point of presence from CenturyLink.
When you mentioned that, for the courts, you said video. I'm assuming that's video and audio.
Yes, that's correct.
And will that hook the jail in?
Yes, that does include the jails as well.
Okay, because we've been cobbling these things together for a long time, and is this the solution, or is this just partway to the solution of being able to have the lawyers access their clients at the jail instead of having to transport?
This provides all the technical requirements needed to meet those needs. So if there's political stuff where a judge doesn't want to do that, I can't help that one, but it will provide, it is not a Band-Aid solution. It's the fix for getting them to where they technically need to be.
Okay, and that includes the equipment necessary.
Yes, that's correct. And it includes equipment, license, and installation of the system.
Perfect, thank you. Do you have any questions?
No, I do not. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Judd, do you have any questions? Hearing none, then I'm going to move on. We do have a motion and a second. Any more comments?
No.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
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 Chair votes aye, and it's unanimous and so ordered. If you're not too faint, Mr. Karwachka, after sitting here all this time, do you have a report for us?
Very briefly, and this day has come that the BDI terminal is complete. We're waiting for the signage, but the terminal is complete.
And the electricity works and you can get in and out the doors?
Yes.
Okay.
And so that is the latest and greatest and the big accomplishment. So we're finally there.
Great. All right. Next thing is current events. Supervisor Crosby?
Yes, a point of personal preference. I'd like to request that Mr. Watkins allow me to speak to him for about 30 seconds before he takes off. And I wonder, Mr. Maddox, were you able to find a agenda number and agenda quick for me?
Supervisor Crosby, I was not able to from this computer, but as soon as the meeting's over, I'll get it to you.
Thank you very much. That's all I have. Thank you, Madam.
Okay. Well, since it was Veterans Day recently, that was the big thing in my district. Veterans Day in Douglas is almost like 4th of July. It's very celebrated because there are lots of veterans in the area. I was able to participate in the parade. I've got extra candy on my desk that I didn't get it all thrown, so life is good. Ms. Judd, do you have any comments or current events in your district?
I didn't have anything to add. Thank you.
Okay. Well, having said that, our next meeting will be on Friday, November the 18th at 4 o'clock in an executive conference room for a special meeting to canvass the election results, and we have to add another agenda item. That was the one that was tabled from today.
Oh, that'll be November 29th.
Oh, okay. All right. Having said that, meeting adjourned.